Hi everybody, welcome back to the place that turns questions into answers. Today we are touching on an accounting management question, okay, specifically raw material variances. Okay, on our left hand side, we've got our raw material price variance, and on our right hand side, we'll then go into our raw material usage variance. So, what is our raw material price variance? We basically say it's our standard price less our actual price. Oh, sorry about that. Less our actual price multiplied by actual quantity. Okay. And then our raw material usage variance then talks about our standard quantity minus our actual quantity multiplied by your actual, sorry about that, standard price. Okay, a nice way to remember this is that we are always beginning with our standard. Okay, and because P comes before U, it will then be actual first. So the first that comes before the other. So the A will come first and then your S will follow. Okay, your S will then follow. Usage comes after. A again comes first. So your first A and then your standard, which is after, follows. Okay. Another part of this, okay, another way to remember it. So we're starting with our standard, and then we say minus our actual, and then these two, we're talking about what comes first and what comes after. Okay, going back again to it. We're saying raw material price variance. If we're talking about mainly price, we're saying what is dominant in this? What are we trying to find? Our price variance. So our price is important, and that's in our bracket. Now we're trying to find our usage, and our usage is usually measured in quantity. Thus, we want to say what's in our bracket? Our quantity. So what's important is in our bracket. Okay? And what will help us get to that variance? We are talking about our price. How do we get to our total price? We are using our total quantity. Okay, how do we get to the usage for the total usage? How do we get to the raw material usage with the price element to it? We will talk about total usage multiplied by price per unit. Okay, so this always talks to totals, and this always also talks to totals. Okay, please let me know in the comment section if I'm going too fast or something is not making sense. Let's delve into it. Every time we talk about something that is standard, we know we should flex it. But what does flex mean? Flex mean we take into account an element of actual. So for example, you are given, we have okay, we can't flex this side very much, but we can try flex this side for quantity. We're given our standard quantity. We're trying to work out our standard quantity. We give 30 units, or 30 rather, they like to give us in the measurements. So for example, 30 meters multiplied by your actual meters used. Okay, actual meters used. For example, we have if we are trying to calculate how many meters we'll need per truck, then we will say how many trucks did we produce, you know? So this is how many meters per truck, standard. And then we have an actual of, for example, 3,000 trucks. Okay? And flex just means we take into account a standard element and an actual element to get our standard amount. Okay, so trucks actual. Okay, and this will give us your standard quantity. So we have 30 meters that is used per truck, and we have 30 trucks that were actually produced. Okay, another thing that is important to note, just going to erase this just to make some room, is that you can always pause it if I'm going too fast, okay? Actual quantity in raw material price variance is not always equal. Not always. So, sorry about that. Not always equal to actual quantity in raw material usage. So we can just put price there and usage there. So this actual quantity is not the same. So what you usually do to save time is that from your scenario, you write your standard is equal to, for example, 3 Rand. Your actual price is equal to 5 Rand, for an example. And then you'll say your standard quantity is equal to 30,000. And your actual quantity was, again, a total, so that's why it's so big, is equal to 50,000. But this won't be entirely correct for most questions. Why? Because your actual quantity for price variance, so then you'll fill in for the equation. So let's take a step back. Why do we do this to save time? So we just plug it into our formula, okay? So we'll say 3 minus 5 multiplied by actual quantity, 50,000, and this would give us your raw material price variance. Okay, again, to save time, you'll say standard quantity 30,000, okay, minus 50,000 multiplied by your standard price is 3, and you'll plug in your things that you got from your scenario right into your formula. But we are saying this method is not always correct. Okay, so it's not always correct. And why are we saying that? So this is right. It's right. It's an exam technique to save time. Use all the items which are given in your formula and write out what amount is given and calculate it. If you have to calculate, say 3 minus, calculate it and get amounts and plot next to each amount. Okay, but we're saying this is not always correct. And why are we saying this is not always correct? Because actual quantity for price variance is not always the same as actual quantity for usage. So yes, this is both AQ and AQ. Okay, this is both AQ and AQ. But we're saying our AQs are not always equal. Why is that? Because the actual quantity that you spend money on, price that you spend for, that you pay for. So they tell you, for example, they bought 142,000 meters. That's how much they bought. So this is how much meters they bought. Okay? This is how much they paid during the year. So this is relevant to our price variance. Okay? Versus our usage variance, actual quantity. For example, they will tell you they only used. Okay? And that is a key distinguisher. How much they paid for, the price that they paid for it, and how much they used. Okay? So your actual quantity that you used would have been, for example, 150. Sometimes it's less. So we've got 130,000 meters. Actual quantity. So how much then did we use? Okay? So we paid for this amount in terms of quantity but this is how much quantity we used and paid for. So this is just how much we paid for, not necessarily how much we used. But our usage variance then talks of how much we paid and how much we used for it. Okay. So these are two key variances for raw material price and usage. If you have any questions, please leave it down in the comment section below. And, I will get to your answers as soon as I can. Thank you again for watching. Please remember to hit that like button, subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next